Title: Shadows of Venice. Location: Venice, Italy. The romantic yet eerie canals and narrow alleyways at night. Scene 1. The mysterious arrival. Night. The moon reflects off the water, creating an eerie glow across the canals. A sleek, black boat pulls up to an abandoned dock near the heart of Venice. A young, beautiful woman, Julia, early 20s, dressed in an elegant but simple black dress, steps off the boat with a hurried look on her face. She scans the area nervously, clutching her bag. She walks briskly towards the shadowy alleyways. Julia, whispering to herself, "I shouldn't be here. Why did I come? What was I thinking?" The sound of distant laughter echoes through the alley as Julia continues walking. Her footsteps quicken as she approaches an ancient stone building. She stops and glances over her shoulder. Something feels wrong. She hesitates before pushing open the door and entering. Scene 2. The crime. Inside, the air is thick with tension. The flickering lights cast long shadows across a dimly lit hallway. Suddenly, a noise from the end of the hallway catches her attention. A muffled scream. Julia's heart races. She freezes. Her breath is shallow as she approaches the source of the noise. Turning the corner, she sees a figure, Marco, a local businessman, lying motionless on the floor, blood pooling around him. In the dim light, a figure in a black hooded jacket stands over him. A sharp, glinting knife is still in Marco's chest. Julia gasps. The hooded figure turns and faces her. It's Luca, a man with whom she had a past. His cold, dead eyes fix on hers, and he slowly pulls off his hood. Julia, shaken. "Luca, why? Why him? What are you doing?" Luca, low, emotionless. "You shouldn't have come here, Julia. Now you'll have to pay the price for knowing too much." He steps forward, menacingly. Julia backs away, her breath caught in her throat. Scene 3. The chase. Julia turns and runs down the corridor. Her footsteps echo. She races through the darkened, labyrinthine streets of Venice, the sounds of Luca's footsteps behind her growing louder. She rounds a corner and slips into a narrow alley, but the sound of heavy breathing tells her Luca is closing in. Suddenly, the screeching sound of sirens fills the air. The carabinieri are here. Julia, shouting toward the sound. "Help! Help me!" Luca curses and disappears into the shadows. Julia looks around desperately as a carabinieri squad car skids to a halt at the end of the alley. 2 officers step out, Inspector Rinaldi, early 40s, experienced, and his partner Sergeant Bianchi, mid-30s, intense. They rush to Julia. Inspector Rinaldi, calm but authoritative. "Miss, are you okay?" Julia, trembling. "It's Luca. He killed Marco. He's after me now." Sergeant Bianchi, frustrated, scanning the alley. "Did you see which way he went?" Julia, pointing shakily. "Down there. He's gone, but he can't be far." The carabinieri split up and begin searching the area. Julia, still in shock, is ushered into the back of the squad car. Scene 4. The Dark Secret. Hours later. The squad car drives through the fog-covered streets of Venice, the city eerily silent under the pale moonlight. Inspector Rinaldi looks at Julia, his expression softening. Inspector Rinaldi, "Julia, we need to know everything. Did Luca ever threaten you? Was Marco involved in something dangerous?" Julia, nervously, "I didn't want to get involved. Marco, he was into something dark. He'd been meeting with Luca, but I didn't know. He said he was getting out, that it was all over." Inspector Rinaldi, "It's never over when money is involved." The car pulls up to the police station. Julia is escorted inside, but she can't shake the feeling that she's being watched. In the shadows, she catches a glimpse of someone. It's Luca, his face half obscured, but his eyes locked onto hers. Scene 5. A deadly revelation. Back at the police station, Inspector Rinaldi reviews evidence gathered from the crime scene, fingerprints, a blood-stained wallet, and a broken phone. Bianchi comes in, looking frustrated. Sergeant Bianchi, "We've been over every inch of those alleys, sir. No sign of Luca. It's like he vanished." Julia, fidgeting nervously, "He's still out there. I saw him. I know he's watching me." Rinaldi stares at the files on his desk, deep in thought. Inspector Rinaldi, quietly, "There's something we're missing. Something about Marco's death doesn't make sense. Why was he murdered in such a public way? Suddenly, a call comes through. It's the Venice morgue. Marco's body has been examined. Coroner's voice on the phone. Inspector, you need to see this. Marco's cause of death is not just the stab wound. There's a small, almost imperceptible puncture wound in his neck. A poison. Julia's eyes widen. She whispers to herself in disbelief. Julia, softly. Luca, he didn't just kill him. Scene 6. The final confrontation. The next day. The Carabinieri close in on Luca's hideout, a secluded villa on the outskirts of Venice. Julia, determined to confront Luca, secretly follows them. As she reaches the villa, she sees Luca standing by the water, his back to her. Julia, yelling, Luca! He turns, a cruel smile on his face. Luca, calmly, You still don't get it, do you? Marco wasn't the target. You were... Julia takes a step back, her eyes filled with terror. Julia, what do you mean? Luca, laughing darkly. Marco was just the distraction. You were always the real prize. All those years, and you still don't realize who you're dealing with. Suddenly, Rinaldi and Bianchi burst through the doors of the villa. A shootout ensues. Gunshots echo across the water as Luca pulls out a weapon, but the officers are faster. Rinaldi shoots, hitting Luca in the arm. He collapses to the ground. Scene 7, the aftermath. Julia stands near the water, the weight of everything sinking in. The Carabinieri have taken Luca into custody. The sun is setting behind her, casting an orange glow across the lagoon. Inspector Rinaldi, approaching her. It's over, Julia. He won't hurt you anymore. Julia nods slowly, but there's a look of sorrow in her eyes. The beauty of Venice, the city of romance and intrigue, feels colder now. Julia, quietly. It's never over, is it? Not really. The camera pulls back as Julia walks away, the haunting melody of a gondola's song playing softly in the distance. The credits roll over slow-motion shots of Venice at night, its timeless beauty shadowed by the darkness of its secrets. This script brings together suspense, emotion, and a dark atmosphere, mixing crime, betrayal, and the beautiful yet eerie backdrop of Venice. It's packed with twists and turns, leading to a tense and thrilling climax.